Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School every night here at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. We are here breaking down the biggest stories, the toughest ideas, the most intense arguments going on, not just in the present moment, but throughout time. This is not a TV show. It's not a podcast. It is a global classroom. And we're here tonight talking about all the hottest stories going on in the world. And there's no bigger story. There is no bigger story than the fact that this afternoon, Donald J. Trump was convicted of not one crime, not two crimes, 34 crimes. You know what? Y'all hear them laugh. I always just bring them in now, right? I got some dope people here with me to help me make sense of this. I'm going to join. First of all, Rebecca Azor, she is she has her own show. You see her on the Hill. She's a political analyst. She is part of the left-wing mafia. She says she is part of a movement of just brilliant, extraordinary sisters who help us break down some of the most important ideas going on in the world. And the man at the bottom of the screen, you know him as well. His name is Kwame Jackson. He is an entrepreneur. He's a diversity expert. And he was on the first season of The Apprentice. And he had some very interesting and engaging interactions with somebody who turned out to be a convicted felon.
We all know him, right? We all know some people in locked up.
You all know some. Look, no shame.
I like this.
Look, that's how it is. You didn't think it'd be your president. Now, people are accusing me already. They're already accusing me of celebrating and being what's the word? Classless. You know, and I don't see it that way.
As he sips his Ripple, as the Sanford and Son Ripple.
It's rosé, man. It's rosé. I broke out the good stuff for Donald J. Trump.
Oh, because it's a celebration. Clap, clap, bravo.
He's celebrating, you know. But in all seriousness, and I am serious, I am celebrating this. Before I actually celebrate, let me tell y'all what actually happened in case you've been living in a bubble. Donald J. Trump was convicted on Thursday, today, of falsifying records to cover up a sex scandal that threatened to derail his 2016 presidential campaign. The jury found that Donald Trump actually faked records to conceal the purpose of money that he gave to Michael Cohen, who was a key witness in all of this, right, to help fix a problem. Problem, of course, was Stormy Daniels. And here's why it's interesting. It's not illegal to give somebody money to not tell their story. Or you can buy their life rights. You can give them an NDA. It's the fact of how he hid the money to hide the fact that he did not want a porn star's story of him having sex with her to be out in the public. So it's the way they hid the $130,000 hush money deal that made this the thing. Now, to be clear, the felony conviction, and he was convicted 34 counts, calls for a sentence of, you could get a fine, but up to 4 years behind bars. He could get probation. He could get this, he could get that, or he could get up to 4 years per count. Now, it would be almost unimaginable that Donald Trump would get concurrent sentences. That is to say, he ain't going to get 144 years or whatever it would be. I ain't that good at math, but it's more likely he'll get a fine or probation up to the 4 years. That's the most likely thing. And, you know, I'm an abolitionist. I don't support using the criminal legal system in this way. I don't think this is the way we should adjudicate harm. I'm not even convinced that he deserves to be in prison. If I did, it wouldn't be for this. He got a laundry list of shit he did. This wouldn't be the thing to me that should get him in prison. However, sometimes, you know, sometimes you bite the bear, sometimes the bear bites you. You know, sometimes you the windshield wiper, sometimes you know what I mean, you the fly. And it just hit him. He's the bug today. So anyway, that's my short take. Is, you know, I want to break it down, talk about what it means, what the consequences are of all of this. Mm-hmm. But before we get to that, I want to get y'all take. Kwame, you've known him the longest. Mm-hmm. What was your reaction when you saw and heard this?
Well, I don't know if you remember the scene from Glory where they said, "Oh my Lord, 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 Lord." Whoa, we're waking up tomorrow. We got to charge this. That was my reaction. It was Morgan Freeman talking to Denzel Washington saying, oh my Lord, 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 tomorrow we're going to go fight the Confederates. And I just felt as though it was a moment for Black people. It was a George Floyd style verdict where we finally saw the justice system working on our behalf. Okay. And to see things that I've been preaching on since 2015, when people thought I was just being hyperbolic and crazy and, you know, oh, this guy's just mad because he didn't win The Apprentice. It was like all those things that I've said over and over again on multiple media hits have come true. It is the content of his character. And now it's time for us to judge that. And it's just great to see that that was made possible.
That is an important point. There's a sense, even when you use this kind of slave analogy, there's a way that we finally felt that somebody who has played above the rules, somebody who has flaunted his power, somebody who has ignored the vulnerable, was finally being held accountable, Rebecca. I mean, them 12 people in that jury box, it might be the cable guy, it might be the cashier at the local store, might be your auntie, might have been Rebecca for all I know.
It might have been.
That's right.
It might have been. Here's the thing. It's great to celebrate. What we're celebrating is the fact that Trump, you know, there's a guilty verdict for Trump that we never thought we would have at some, because he walks around as if he's untouchable. And so we can celebrate that the law was on the right side of it today. That, you know, again, where were we? This is one of those moments. Where were you when you heard the verdict? Now, I was not aware, like we were all talking about earlier. We were not aware. I wasn't ready for it. I thought they were, you know, they got together, they're ready to go home, and we probably were going to get something on tomorrow. But yet it came like immediately. I was like, wait, hold up. All of these, I'm getting text. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then they were like, it's coming out. And then 2 seconds, here it is. I'm like, oh, wow, guilty. 34 one. And they all were like, yes, it's all, you know, all counts guilty. That's what I think that we're celebrating. People are like, you know, you're celebrating jail. No, we don't. We're Black. Like a lot of us, look, we know the system. We know how it works. So to see somebody like Trump, at least we know he may not be going in. We like, come on, let's be for real. But we do understand that, okay, at least they were on the right side of it this time with the guilty verdict. And it's great that we got that. At least that's like a step somewhere.
Let me play a little devil's advocate, though, because I always get worried when unfair things happen to terrible people, because I feel like those unfair things are going to happen to good people and vulnerable people 10 times more. So I remember when the Freddie Gray thing was happening and they were celebrating, people were celebrating that they were calling for $1 million bail, $10 million bail for the cop. And I'm like, that's not how bail should be used. And if a cop gets $1 million bail or $10 million bail, then what's your cousin going to get? What's your auntie going to get? And there'll be a lot more of them than there will be cops going to jail. So part of what I wonder is, will we start? I don't want to see witch hunts. Donald Trump has done a million things that are illegal. And I think the voter fraud stuff in Georgia is far more interesting and compelling a case than him paying a porn star for her life rights. And this feels like bad accounting. He definitely did it. He's guilty.
He did it.
I just don't know if we start pulling that thread, what that means. I mean, is there any part of you that's like, this wasn't the one to get him on?
But that was, remember, it was in furtherance of interfering with the election. So just don't look at the payment to the porn star. Don't look at the tawdry details and the grime and, you know, the sex, blah, blah, blah. Like, look at the fact that he did all of this so that this dirt would not come out, therefore changing the course of the election. So it was major if you think about it that way.
That's an important point.
Yeah. No, it is. No, and for me, you know, we got to call a thing a thing. I always say this because at the same time, like that is, you know, we can point that out. And Kwame, I love that point that you brought up too. He did all of this so that he wouldn't be looked at as somebody who wasn't pristine. He doesn't fit. He couldn't be a great president. Let's be for real, right? Say this was what, 2007, all that, Barack Obama running, all these things. And then next thing you know, some of this stuff that he needed to hide or stuff was coming out and criminal things, all of the above. They would say, hell no, he's a criminal. Like
we can't get the nomination.
Not all of it. It would be terrible, 10 times worse. So seeing this for Donald Trump, we probably won't get much out of it. As I told you, Mark, he might appeal this thing all the way up until he dies.
You already know.
And that's it.
That's an important point. I'm looking at this picture of Donald Trump. This is after the conviction.
Conviction, yeah.
He could have taken an underground tunnel.
No.
He could have done a lot. He could have not been seen.
That's not how he rolls.
It's the opposite of how he rolls. But people really care about this. Look at these people.
But it's three people. It's three people. Come on now. It's not like the masses are
it's some behind them too. And it's embarrassing to know it's people that look like us in that crowd as well. They've been in these streets and they've been rocking them ugly ass shoes. They've been really out here saying, you know, we're gonna ride for him. He's a felon like me. That's what we've been saying. That's the other side of the conversation that I've been seeing online. It's really stupid. I know I just seen the tweet from Academics, who we know has his case lingering himself. You know, and he's just pointing out, he's talking about, you know, I can't wait. He might be the only president we have. I can't wait to vote for him. Makes me want to vote for him more. He might be the only president that we have that's on house arrest. And that's why I love him. Ignorance. But this is what Donald Trump likes when he comes out here. He makes his statements. He never once apologized to his wife, nothing like that. We're not going to see any sentiments here from him for anybody. What we're going to see more is somebody who loves entertainment, and he loves to gravitate towards that. So being seen is just what we will see of him, just like this. And people are dumb.
I was just gonna say, with those kind of black folk though, Rebecca, think about it in the real. It's the old quote of never argue with somebody that Harriet Tubman would have shot. Everybody's not trying to be saved. Everybody's not trying to be free. Everybody's not trying to run away, steal away in the night and go through the swamp and try to go north and follow the North Star. Everybody's not down with that. So it's like people like that, I'm not even trying to save them and bring them into our camp.
Yeah.
Let them wear their gold shoes and do their thing.
Here's my worry. My worry is that some of them people, when they came out and saw Donald Trump, when they watched him out here standing there waving to his fans, being himself, whatever that is, right? There's a way that that Donald Trump is organizing. It's not just vanity. It's not just ego. When he stands out there and makes that wave, Donald Trump is reminding people that he is a political player. His donations went to the roof.
I still got juice. Yeah.
And
got juice, and it's a signal. It's the bat signal.
It's a bat signal. I mean, his donations went through the roof after the conviction. Anybody who likes Donald Trump is not persuaded by this guilty verdict. They're not angered by, they're angered by it. They're not angered against him. They're not turned against him. They're like, all right, they're really out to get him. Is there any danger that as long as he doesn't go to jail, that this actually makes him more likely to be president?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I would say yes, because first of all, he ain't going to jail. You know, I would love to sing that
you don't
song.
See it happening. You don't see him going to jail?
No, I don't see him. No, well, he's not. I don't see it. Not. I'm literally Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder to this whole thing. He's him going to jail. Can't see it. Okay. And with that, like we have to understand that he's bypassed so much thus far. And it's not that he's untouchable. He just gets away with a lot. And he knows that. So that, like you said, is a bat signal. He comes out there and it's almost like, hey, they tried to get me. Y'all see what they trying to do to me. And I'm just like you, a felon. They trying to put me in the system. They don't like us. And the black people are hearing us. That's us. He's talking to us. And the people want to be relatable. They're like, he's such a good man. And look what he's done for our country. And they're trying to get him in. They don't want him to be president, but you don't have to, as a felon, you can still be president. That's the weird thing about America. You can still be president, but you can't vote. It affects how your access to jobs, restricts some healthcare in some cases, housing. You can't get an apartment or all of these things are in place, but yet you can be president. And Donald Trump is an example of somebody who can be running for president.
And here's another crazy one to add to that, Rebecca, is you cannot join the military if you're a felon, yet you can be commander in chief of the military as a felon.
It's
so
crazy.
Think about that. Think about that. That's like
that's mind-boggling. And I guess I think about Trump's legacy. He's so legacy-minded. He wants to be the president that did this, the president that did that. He is the first U.S. president to be convicted of a felony. That's probably not the first that he wanted. But the fact of the matter is, for those that need to know, like, he can still be president, right? There's nothing in the Constitution that prevents someone with a felony conviction.
But wouldn't it be interesting though? Let's say, God forbid, he does become president. How can you be in charge of the military if you can't be in the military and have a felony? So you're going to be president, but you have no military control. Mm-hmm. But you know they're going to change that rule too.
Well, look, he wasn't in the military before that. He had bone spurs, right? He was ducking more fights than Floyd in his prime. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's true.
It don't even matter. But your point's well taken. You know,
they'll find a way.
They will find a way. But people are outraged. We also got to talk about Alvin Bragg real quick. He's the Manhattan District Attorney. He thanked the jury, for
tremendous brother.
Oh my God,
tremendous brother. Strivers Row, Harlem. Look, I found out today that I was actually I was at Harvard Business School and he was at Harvard Law School. He finished in 99. I finished in 2000. And we used to go party with the law school back and forth in Boston. I was like, I was probably in a party with Alvin Bragg.
I know that man.
Doing all kind of good stuff. And to see him make history the way he did, man, that was a Jackie Robinson moment.
Yo, black folk, from Letitia James to Bragg, there is some very interesting stuff happening that's historically consistent. Black folks seem to always be the people that end up keeping America in line, holding Black America in check, making democracy advance. And I don't want to romanticize America or democracy or the criminal legal system here, but there is something satisfying about watching. Even as the jury was leaving, Bragg is thanking them for their service. Donald Trump is scowling at the jury, trying to intimidate them. Mm-hmm. And it don't matter that they're not rich and famous, they're not billionaires, whatever. Doesn't matter. They had control, and he hates every minute of it. And as soon as it was over, of course, he says the whole thing was rigged. Right? Yeah. He starts talking about how the whole thing was fake. Same thing he says when he loses an election. I just got joy, even for a moment.
It was the whole soundtrack of racism, is what I call it. I wrote it down. He said it was rigged. It was a disgrace. It was Soros backed. It was, migrants coming across the border. All those things are his little thriller, beat it, soundtrack to racism that he just says over and over again. And just because you can say, superfralicagilistic expialidocious doesn't mean that's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like you throw out the word and then all of a sudden some magic stuff is going to happen. He just feels like if I say these words over and over again, I can lure my people like the Pied Piper into believing a new reality.
Yeah. But they do. But that's the thing. They do. And while he says these things, witch hunt, they were after me. Let's blame it on Black Lives Matter. Let's blame it on the migrants over water. We got to build that wall. Remember what I told you.
Make white people mad.
That's it.
And Black Lives Matter.
And they'll take it. It was them. It was them. They were the cause. They're the reason why a lot of you guys couldn't see how we were about this country on January 1st. These are the people that try to stop us from really becoming, at the top of our game here in America and making it change. I'm the one that will do that for you. That's what they're hearing. They're toothless. They don't got no insurance. They live in the backwoods. But this man and all what he's saying, right, is Bible.
Speaking their language. He's speaking their language.
Speaking their language. So play this out for me, y'all. So I already heard you say, Rebecca, you don't think he does a day of jail time. Kwame, do you say the same thing?
I think house arrest, and I think maybe up to 18 months. And a good barometer for that is the recent district attorney, I forgot her name, but the Black female in Baltimore who got wrongly
convicted. Marilyn Mosby. Yeah.
Marilyn Mosby. I'm sorry. So Marilyn Mosby, who got wrongly convicted, now has house arrest for 12 months for similar financial crimes. And then this is similar to what Donald Trump has done. So it's a possibility. And I know we're talking about Baltimore. I know we're talking about a Black woman. Mm-hmm. But if we want to say, things are the same, things are the same.
No, that's fair.
They're the same, but the things ain't the same.
Yeah. But that probably plays in Donald Trump's favor, though, right? Because if a Black woman didn't get prison time, a white man damn sure ain't.
Oh, yeah. But I would be happy with 12 months of house arrest. Think about how that involves the election.
Right. We're moving forward with something. We got guilty. And then they put something on his little ankle. And they let us know everywhere he go, you guilty.
I'm looking for that ankle piece. Right. That ankle piece is gonna be the joint.
If you got an ankle bracelet, it's a wrap. I will have jokes on jokes on jokes.
Really. But I'll know that okay, there's something happening here. But again, I believe that he will appeal, stretch this thing out. He will make sure that he's continuing his campaigning and probably secure a seat in the White House. God forbid, like you said, but you know, he knows how to entertain people. He knows how to grab them in and make them relate. Unfortunately, some of your favorite rappers have sat down in interviews, and the only thing that they can say about Donald Trump is, oh, he gave me a little check back when COVID was in, and that's why I love, you know, he gave me a little check, and that's all they can understand about Donald Trump, and that's why they would support him. And then now he got a charge, so they're like, "Damn, that's why we can relate."
Street cred. Now he got street cred.
Help me understand this, Kwame, because you are a black man, and it's our demo, unfortunately, that's lowering the curve here.
That's slipping.
It's slipping, man. Why do you find that black men in particular find Donald Trump so compelling? I meet black men usually it's online in debates who say, you know, Donald Trump is our guy, or we want Donald Trump, or he's not perfect, but he's the best choice we have. Why?
I see two things, and I'm not accepting the rationale and all, but I'm talking barbershop talk. I'm talking about, you know, just like you said, people online, etc. One is machismo. Like, brothers love to see somebody go hard, you know, just give it to people. DMX cash just you know, off top, just for no reason. They love to see that kind of energy, you know, that Rough Rider energy. And then two, they like to see, a lot of brothers are all about their pockets. They're all about finance. And so it's like, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. And as long as Trump is like giving me a lower tax rate, as long as Trump is making sure that, you know, I have a higher salary, or my company doesn't move here, my company doesn't move there, I got a good job. It's like brothers will like put everything else to the side and allow somebody to come into the door that, you know, fundamentally doesn't respect us in any way.
They're not educating themselves, to me, and it's not, you know, and it sucks that it's the brothers that's at the, you know, at the top of the game with that, but they're not educating themselves. You know, you got that money, but where is it, like, what else is it hurting? Where else is it going to show up in your life in a few years where you may either have to pay that back? What does that look like for you? They're not educating themselves. They're just looking at right now, I got a couple of dollars, that's my president. That, like, they're not looking at anything else.
I wish, I mean, I agree with everything y'all said, but I wish that were the only thing that's making people vote. If people said, look, taxes, money, I get it, right? I mean, when tax season come, I ain't gonna hold you. Like, it's times I'll be like, I get it. You know, like,
right.
I'm tired of paying some of these taxes, right? I pay them because I think it's the right thing to do. But you know, I get the frustration. I understand that some policies will make some people, will frame people as rich when they're really middle class, or people don't understand, if you live in New York City, you know, what income level you need to have to just pay bills and have a modicum of a decent lifestyle. It's different than in the flyover state, right? And so, you know, I remember under the Obama administration, you know, I think it was anything over 250. They said we're only taxing the wealthy, the middle class and the poor don't get anything. But if you make more than 250, your taxes went up. So there's a person in New York City who makes $280,000 with 3 kids. That's like, what do you want me to do? My rent is at the time $4,000 a month. Now it's probably $6,000 a month to live in a 3-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
And so this is the crisis, right? So I get the frustration. I get saying, you know what, Republicans get this money thing better. I don't agree with that, but I understand the logic at least. But my worry is that when I talk to black men and other people, poor white people too, it's not just black men. I don't want to pathologize black men. Poor white men are doing the same thing. They look at Donald Trump and they see in him something that's not dollars and cents, something that's not nuts and bolts. It's more like Donald Trump represents freedom, a lack of connection to authority.
Yeah,
he is.
He represents. I'm gonna cut straight to. He represents BDE, bro.
Yes,
he represents BDE.
Ironically,
people like they feel that, and it's like, even though he doesn't have it, that's what he's like falsely representing the PS bravado.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. And so I remember when all this stuff was going on with Bill Cosby, and what I found was that people were saying, well, what about Harvey Weinstein, right? And my frustration with that was they weren't asking for Harvey Weinstein to be treated like Bill Cosby. They were asking for Bill Cosby to be treated like Harvey Weinstein, because our vision of liberation and freedom too often is to be as unaccountable, as harmful, as indifferent as selfish, as narcissistic as white patriarchal men are.
The same way that we celebrated the OJ verdict.
Boom.
It wasn't that we all know that he killed her, but it was about, hey, if I have a good enough lawyer, I have enough money, I can kill somebody too.
The system works for both people. So we got a black man with money. They tried to bring him down, but he beat the case, and that was the most exciting thing.
Yeah, and the murder just fell by the wayside.
Exactly. And that's the problem. And I think
that scares me. So when they see this white man jump up, if not guilty, y'all got to film. You know what I mean? If he walks up that joint, even though he's guilty, if he walks out and don't got to do no time, and he still get to be president.
People are looking at that like he beat a case. They can't wait. There's gonna be some raps about it. There's people who are like attaching themselves to him because of this. And he said this. He said the black Americans or the blacks love me because I got a case. My numbers are going up because I got this criminal charge coming up, and I got that. He said that's what he said that, and people were like, it does make him relatable. I've literally heard conversations from people that I know and love. Beautiful black men, beautiful black sisters. They will sit there and be like, you know what? It's true. Like, he's really challenging the system, and he's doing that for us. And I'm like,
and that's the thing.
Part of our pathology is the fact that we think that to catch a case makes you relatable, right? Like why is it that in our culture we think kind of going through the criminal justice system or committing a crime and then beating it is like something that makes you relate? Why is that a badge of honor? That's a bigger pathology for us.
I struggle with that because there is a way that if you feel like we're getting locked up wrongfully and we're being mistreated all the time in the criminal legal system, then part of the beating the case is not
they didn't bring me down.
It's like, for once I got to beat the system when I shouldn't. So it's a balancing act, right? Because sometimes the free Pookie t-shirts is like, yeah, Pookie did it. You know that nigga did it, right? So I do struggle with that. Speaking of which, y'all, in case you came in late, we are here. If you see me wondering what's in this bottle, this is rosé. And I don't drink often, but Donald J. Trump is doing it. He got the conviction. And again, I'm an abolitionist. I don't support the criminal legal system in its current form or in any form. Really, I think we can do better than that. We need restoration. But again, if there's 1 million people in jail, I want 999,999 of them free.
Hey, and I'm happy to see Donald Trump doing some restorative justice. Like if he's going to do 1,000 hours teaching kids to read in the inner city,
and he's not,
that would be great.
He's not.
That'd be more punishment for him if he had to be around that many black people. And he gotta read. Shit.
Oh, it's he gonna hold it upside down. Ain't nothing he can do. Now
he can do. All right, before y'all, I gotta ask you a question, Kwame, because there's been a lot of news going on. A lot of reports, a lot of updates, a lot of rumors, a lot of innuendo. Tell me what's true and what's not true. News reports say that Donald Trump used the N-word on set during season 1 of The Apprentice when talking about you. My understanding was, according to the reports I've heard and some of my sources, that Donald Trump, there's a tape somewhere of Donald Trump saying why you could not have been the winner, why they chose Bill over you in season 1 of The Apprentice was because Donald Trump didn't believe that a black person would be accepted by America as the season 1 winner. And so what he says on tape is, something to the effect of, I don't know if America would accept a nigger as the winner of The Apprentice. Tell me what's true. Tell me what's not true. Tell me what you know. Tell me what you heard.
I can tell you straight up, one, he didn't say it to my face. So let's be very clear about that.
I already know that.
Yeah, I mean, let's look. Look, I get my lift on for a reason like everybody else. And so he didn't say it to my face, number one. And number two, I'm not sure if it was ever said or not. My gut tells me it was said, but I don't have evidence of the tape. And I don't know a direct story from that producer other than what he told me. Now, Bill Pruitt, the producer that wrote this article, is a friend of mine. And he was one of the good guys on the set, was always cool, but he's not getting any kind of Profiles in Courage award for coming 20 years later and saying something that we kind of all knew was happening during the course of the process.
Let me pause you for 1 second, just for clarity's sake. He signed an NDA, right?
I know, but see, I'm not even going to let people off on the NDA. And
I just want the audience to know what the story is.
Yeah, an NDA is a non-disclosure agreement.
NDA's up. And now, like you said, 20 years later, he's like,
20 years later. My thing is, look, I talked about like this for Memorial Day and the Medal of Honor, right? Do they give Medal of Honors for the people who hide behind the machine gun and are afraid to charge the hill? Or do they give Medal of Honors, profiles, and courage for people who go after that hill and the machine gun? A profile and courage is someone who, in the moment, makes a decision to their own peril so that they can do something for the greater good. And what Bill did, and this is not about Bill, but what he did was he kind of held that back for 20 years, something that once again was material to the election, material to how people thought about Donald Trump, material to, you know, my personal case. And so it's like, for me, Bill's no hero. I'm glad he came out and said what he said, but he's no hero. And then for the other piece is, all this stuff to me doesn't even matter, because like whether I won or not, The Apprentice, you know, 20 years ago, that's not the problem. The problem is the downstream effects that have been created by putting Trump in the position that we put him in. The fact that we have excused his racism has made everybody much easier to talk about, you know, rolling back DEI, changing history, you know, cutting back funds for minority groups. All those things have come about because Trump has made that environment more okay to do that. And that's the part that hurts my heart. The part that, like, the downstream effects of all this, not whether I won The Apprentice or whether he held me back from a show.
Yeah, I mean, and look, you're wildly successful. You've gone on to be a star, and the people who've won The Apprentice, some of them I ain't never heard of again. So I'm not worried about who won The Apprentice. I guess, I think you're right on the money with everything you just said. Did you see anything on The Apprentice while there that would make you think that Donald Trump was racist?
Well, look, I mean, we didn't spend like a whole lot of time with him other than in the boardroom, other than when he'd come on set during tasks, etc. So he never said anything like super out of the way to me, but I could tell he was uncomfortable around people who weren't white males, like people who weren't normal world, like just in terms of like how you interact with people, how you put your arm around someone and talk to them, whether you're able to have banter with them, casual conversation. He was just very stilted because he didn't really know how to interact, especially with somebody like me who had come from Wall Street, come from Harvard Business School, you know, had more credentials than even he had. And he felt like, where's this guy coming from? He's a unicorn, you know, a unicorn Negro, like Barack Obama used to be perceived. And it's like, I got to be threatened by him. Is he out to get me? So there was definitely a lot of stilted energy around how he interacted, but he never said anything out of the way to me because it wouldn't have gone down like that.
It wouldn't have went the way he wanted it to.
No.
Rebecca, when you hear about all this, Donald Trump allegedly using the N-word on the set of The Apprentice, when you hear about Donald Trump, potentially saying and doing other things, Omarosa's also said things before, you know, about Donald Trump. What do you? Does it surprise you? Does it throw off your vision of him?
Now you know it don't. Okay, I'm not the one to ask the question because yes, great, you know, great question, Mark. And for me, no, it does not surprise me. This is Donald Trump's experience, and I'm sorry, Kwame, that you probably had to go through that, but I understand, like, you ain't the one to play with. Omarosa, she played there for a second, and then she was like, "You can't try me." When they allegedly threw her out on the lawn at the White House, they you know, no more access for that card to get in. She was outside. She can't even get in anymore. Yeah. And she had to come home.
The black card.
Exactly. And then she had to come home. And people was looking at her like, now Omarosa, we remember. But you know, other than that, though, you know, Donald Trump, if people all say something about him, that they, you know, they're black and their experience with him has always been, as black people, has always been strange, has always felt, you know, a little racist, not a little racist, a lot racist. It's the same man that when he got elected, so many of your favorite doctors, your favorite lawyers, all those people started, you know, they now are coming to work with the hoods on, you know, like this is what he created. People were out there. Remember Charlottesville, people were holding up, you know, tiki torches in the name of Donald Trump for what? No, nobody understands. But this man, if he can do that, if he can bring together what happened on January 6th, whatever them people are saying that was their experience, and he said it, he said it. He said it.
It walks like a duck.
Talks like a duck. That's what it is. Quacks like a duck. Quack. That's what it is.
Quack.
Right.
That's what it is.
All right, yo, I appreciate y'all, man, for coming through. I'm gonna tell you one more thing. In July, we got the sentencing.
Okay.
And when the July sentencing happens, y'all gotta.
That's gonna be a party, man.
No,
People are
yeah.
gonna be a party.
I'll have my wine on that night. It's gonna be a party because he better get something on his little ankle. It's already fragile.
That is
10 years left on his life.
Straight up pool party.
Right.
Oh my God, I cannot wait for that, yo. But I just want to thank y'all for coming through. Yo, by the way, we got almost 600 people live right now We'll have tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people who will have watched this by the morning. So please tell people where they can find y'all. Rebecca, what's the best way to get you?
All right. Rebecca Azor is my name. I'm on the show, Like It or Not, alongside Benjamin Dixon. You guys can watch that every Saturday morning on my page, Rebecca Azor, or on Ben's page. I'm also on Leftist Mafia tonight. So y'all can head over to Leftist Mafia. We're going live right now. So head over there. We're going to have a conversation. And I'm also on Olay and Friends, the Yellow Box on Olay and Friends. And we always talk some really good, nuanced conversations about everything. And we're probably going to talk about this as well. Rebecca Azor on Twitter, in Becca's Voice on Instagram, and in Becca's Voice on Threads, because I'm getting with that, cheating on Twitter with Threads. It's a nice vibe.
I love it. I love it.
Like that. My name is Kwame Jackson. I am Frat Brothers with Marc Lamont Hill. Shout out to the noobs. Thanks for watching. You can find me at Kwame Inc., KWAMEINC, on Instagram and on Twitter. You can find me on my website at kwameinc.com. And then also I do work right now trying to organize, energize, and amplify the Gen Z community in the political space with a pact that we've created called togetherpurple.org. And it's all about bringing communities together, turning down the noise from the red, turning down the noise from the blue, and really trying to find a center voice to amplify Gen Z causes. So please go to togetherpurple.org, sign up to become a volunteer, hit us with a $1, $2 donation. We're trying to build that next cool rock the vote style movement to make sure people are engaged for the fall.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank y'all for joining me, man. Everybody, stay with me. We got a lot more coming up. We're talking about Donald Trump. Obviously, you see we celebrating here, but I got a lot more to talk about with you all. We got Joe Biden. Two more officials from his administration have resigned over Gaza. We have a new bill in Tennessee that is proposing that students have to hang the 10 commandments on the wall. We got 3 brothers who got kicked off a flight for a body odor complaint. And we got Samuel Alito, who's acting like he don't know what them flags mean. Stay with me on right here on Night School. We got a lot more coming up. We're going to talk about all that stuff and take some questions from you. Stay right here. This bottle's been sitting in the house for like maybe a year. And I said, you know what? I got to break it out, man. Trump is about to hit that perp walk, man. And again, it's so hard because I don't believe. I mean, I really am an abolitionist. I really believe in a world without police and prisons. And it's not that when Trump gets locked up that I feel differently. It's just I just really don't like that guy.
Question mark.
I just really don't like the question mark. Yes.
Is this the same level that the OJ verdict was?
In terms of how I feel about it?
In terms of what it means to decent people or to people who have been kicked out, left out, oppressed, et cetera, et cetera?
I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. It's a good question. The reason why I would say no is because the stakes felt so high with OJ. It was like he could get the death penalty, although it's California. He's going to do life in prison. So the victory felt bigger. With Trump, it's like the victory is not as big because most people don't think he's going to jail. Most people don't think he's going to take a real L. So it's tough. You know, if Trump were looking at the real charges in Georgia or some other charges where he's looking at like he could get roofed to get 30, 40 years, I think black folk would be doing backflips. I think then it would be OJ level. I think you're 100%, right. The comparison is brilliant. I think most of us know my gut says Trump might do house arrest. He might just get a fine, that scares me because I also don't think a judge wants to be responsible for overturning or changing the outcome of an election. If you give Trump 10 years, right? Or you say, look, the 4 years we'll find you 1 year each or 6 months each for all the charges concurrently. And then you say, no, I'm gonna go consecutive. I hate Trump. I'm gonna go consecutive. You could do that, right? You could give him a month for each charge, and he still got 34 months. If a judge does that, and Trump's in jail when it's time to campaign, when it's time to go to inauguration, etc., that would be the worst case scenario. And I think no judge wants to be a part of that. Now Trump is going to appeal, and once he gets elected president, and I do think he's still going to be president, I think he can just kick it down the field. So all that to say, I think most people deep down don't think Trump is going to jail. So this is more of a symbolic victory, whereas OJ was really at Cinnabon. OJ was really at parties in the Hamptons and shit where he would have been in jail otherwise. So I feel like that's different. But anyway, y'all, I got to talk to y'all about y'all president, your current president, not the old president who's whatever, but the new president, the current president, Joseph Biden. You know, for a long time, certainly since October 7th, people have internally suggested that Joe Biden's handling of Gaza, his management of Israel's war on Gaza, has earned him a lot of hate, a lot of undercover talk, a lot of backdoor disparagement from his own administration. And the best evidence of that is that people keep resigning. Well, 2 more U.S. officials just resigned over President Joe Biden's handling of Israel's war on Gaza. Alexander Smith and Stacey Gilbert. Smith is the senior advisor on gender, maternal health, and nutrition for the U.S. Agency for International Development. And Stacey Gilbert is a State Department official from the Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Immigration. Alexander Smith said that his presentation on maternity and child mortality among Palestinians was canceled. Canceled, right? He's literally trying to explain what's happening to moms and children in Palestine, who comprise 2/3 of the population of people who have been killed. And you know, he got told, according to him, he said he was given the ultimatum to quit or get fired. You can't stay at your job. To me, if they tell me either you quit or get fired, that means you fired me, really. He accuses the administration of not assessing Palestinians the same as they do those of other countries, you know, the women and children of other countries. On Tuesday, Gilbert resigned after the administration released an official report stating that Israel was not preventing the flow of aid to Gaza, and that Israel, quote, increased humanitarian access over the last few months. This is crazy. Basically, what Gilbert is saying is, I can't sit as part of an administration that is literally lying about what's happening. The flow of aid to Gaza has been non-existent since the Rafah crossing was closed. A lot of the food on the Egyptian side of the border isn't getting in, and more importantly, it's rotting because it can't get in. So these resignations bring the total number of Biden administration officials who have publicly resigned up to the number 9. 9. There are also, according to my sources, more people who have resigned who just didn't make the explicit connection because they didn't want to ruffle any feathers. So it might be 9, but it could also be 12, 13, 14 people who have resigned because of what's happening in Gaza. But it's not just about the number of people who have resigned. This is about a bigger issue, a much bigger issue. And that is that the Biden administration is not only ignoring the left and progressive activist voters and college students, they're also ignoring Arab voters and Muslim voters. They're ignoring the global community and the global consensus. The Biden administration is ignoring everybody, but they're also ignoring their own experts. You got media professionals who have resigned. You got demographers and people who are experts on the demographics of survival resigning. You got military strategists who are resigning. You got strategic allies in other countries who are listening and saying, this doesn't make sense. And it's resonating with people in your department, in your administration, who are saying, look, President Biden, like, this doesn't make sense, right? You got people who just simply want you to tell the truth about the fact that aid isn't getting in, but you won't. These resignations are crucial. They are urgent. They are necessary. You see, when you resign in a public way like this, you put a spotlight on the Biden administration. You are humiliating the Biden administration. Now, let me be clear. I don't think that humiliating the Biden administration is the goal. It's not my goal, but it don't hurt. Unfortunately, the Biden administration is never going to do anything out of principle or ethics. They're only going to do things out of strategy and cynicism. And so if they're getting embarrassed by their own administration and voters are not voting for them and people are saying they're uncommitted, even when Joe Biden is not running against anybody, when you have people marching against him, when you have Netanyahu being shouted down and embarrassed in Israel, inside of Israel by liberal Zionist voters, when all of this is happening, you force Biden's hand. Whatever you think of October 7th, Whatever you think of the student protests on college campuses, whatever you think of the ICC, whatever you think of the ICJ, the fact of the matter is the last 7 months have produced a set of outcomes, that otherwise would not have happened. You just don't see the Biden administration making any of the choices that they've made that are remotely positive without the pressure that has been applied. So salute to those officials who resigned over Gaza. I appreciate you. I respect you. And I hope you continue to fight that good fight. Stay right here. We got much more to come on Night School. When we come back, we're going to talk about Tennessee. Tennessee. If you're old enough, you know the reference. Anyway, Tennessee is trying to criminalize adults who support young people who are simply exercising reproductive freedom. I'll tell you what that means in specific fashion right after this. Stay here. Welcome back to Night School. Some interesting and really scary news coming out of Tennessee. In the state of Tennessee, any adults who help minors get gender-affirming care or an abortion are going to be punished. That's because of a bill that Republican Governor Bill Lee has just signed into law. Governor Lee is a huge supporter of the state's near total abortion ban. This isn't one of those states where they're saying, well, after X number of months or under these circumstances, there are exceptions like, being raped or molested or incest. No, this is a state that has a near total ban on abortion and has already passed numerous laws that restrict minors' ability to get an abortion. Tennessee, though, is now the first state to pursue penalizing adults who help minors to receive gender-affirming care, even with parental consent. They're also the second state to penalize those who help minors to get an abortion. So let me just make this clear, or clearer. If you get any kind of health care that is gender-affirming, we're thinking specifically around youth who are navigating and negotiating a trans identity. It's not just that they're stopping you from getting stuff. It's not just that they're trying to punish the person for being trans, which is evil and disgusting and awful, but they're now trying to criminalize adults who help make it happen. So even if your parents say it's okay, it still isn't okay. The state is literally superimposing itself over parental rights. That's indefensible. Even if you think trans is wrong and everybody's going to hell and is evil and all that stuff, which is wrong, and homophobic and transphobic and all the stuff. But even if you believe that, whatever happened to those people who believe that kind of stuff, also believing in free speech, also believing in getting rid of the nanny state, also believing that parents should be able to raise their kids in a way that they want? If that's the case, then what are we doing? And the fact that it's happening in Tennessee is not surprising, because we continue to see more and more rules, more and more laws, more and more pushes to turn Tennessee and to turn really America into a proto-fascist state. In fact, it is a proto-fascist state. We're ultimately going to get to a fascist state because of how easily and uncritically we're willing to discard our own democratic principles, how easily and uncritically we're willing to yield our rights and cede our freedoms to respond to some undeserved right-wing criticism and right-wing anxiety and right-wing fear of a lawless nanny state that doesn't really exist. Newsflash. Conservatives, you're winning. Right-wingers, you're up. We're the ones fighting the fight for a thicker and deeper and more profound version of democracy than this country can currently offer. So we got to keep fighting, because even when we think the fight is over, the Republicans are turning it up a notch. And they're not just doing it at the national level. In fact, they do the opposite. They go city by city, state by state, changing laws. And so they have momentum to fight and change these national laws. That's what's happening every single day in this country. And that's why we got to stay on top of it. Anyway, this bill, this story is crazy. I sometimes see bills that come out and I say, you know what, it's crazy, but it's impossible to happen. It's just a fringe bill. I hear stories. It's more fear-mongering than like a real thing that's possible. But there is a new proposed bill out of Louisiana that is legitimately terrifying, and I got to tell you about it. There's a bill coming out of Louisiana that would require public schools, and public universities to hang a poster of the 10 commandments. I'm not lying, y'all. I swear to God. The bill demands that the poster be no smaller than 11 by 14 inches. And the commandments, all 10 of them, must be the center focus of the poster. So they're not just saying you got to have the commandments in school. They're like, you're going to make them visible. You're going to make them prominent. You're going to make them so that people understand what the Lord meant, that people understand what our duties are. I mean, it's look, if you're Christian and you want to do that in a Christian school, I'm fine with that. I don't have an issue with people honoring their faith, whatever your faith is. But they talking about saying that all schools, all public schools, all public universities have to show the 10 commandments on a big ass piece of paper, a big piece of paper. And that you can't just have them like on the sidelines. You can't have them in the borders with a picture of Moses. No, you need to have the commandments at the center. This law was proposed by Republican Representative Dodie Horton. But we still need to know if the governor, Jeff Landry, is going to sign it. Because if Governor Landry signs it, this bill is a thing. And we've seen similar bills in other places. So I don't want you to think, again, that this is some fringe extremist bill that won't pass. The truth is, it's a fringe extremist bill that might pass. We saw an attempt at this in Texas. We saw it in South Carolina. We saw it in Utah. Now, in all of those states, they didn't pass because people said, it's unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional. Do you know why it's unconstitutional? Because we have a right to freedom of religion. Freedom of religion is the whole point of it in the founding nation's founder's mind. It wasn't about saying that religion isn't important. It was about saying that we don't want government-sponsored coercion of religious consciousness. In other words, the state shouldn't be telling you what to do, how to believe, how to pray, what to believe in. It's a separation of church and state, but it's really a separation of the church from the state, and a separation of the state from the church, to the extent that the state is not in the business of telling us what to believe or how to believe. So there are people who hate religion. There are people who are atheists. There are people who are deeply secular, who seem to think that the separation of church and state means that religion shouldn't matter in our society, or that the state should be sort of against religion. It's not that. It's that the state shouldn't be defining our religious identity. The state shouldn't be defining and shaping our religious principles and our faith doctrines. But when you say that the state has a duty to not just protect religion, but to impose religion, now you're trampling all over the Constitution. And what Louisiana is proposing is that the 10 commandments go on the wall and that everybody has to see it and honor it. And look, the major monotheistic faiths don't have any issue with the 10 commandments. And really in the Old Testament, by the way, if you care, it's not 10 commandments. It's 613 commandments, right? So, or mitzvah, as they call it, mitzvah. There are 613 things that the Old Testament commands and demands of people. And so if you make the commandments, well, however many there are, a thing that is not just an interesting idea or a historical detail when you're teaching a history of religions course, but you're saying every single day, in the same way that people might salute somebody, or they might pledge allegiance to the flag, or they might sing the national anthem, now you're going to also have to read or at least acknowledge the 10 commandments. Yeah, I don't think Muslims care about that, the commandments themselves. I don't think Jews care about the commandments themselves. Obviously, it's an Old Testament project. The question isn't that. The question is, what about people who don't have a religious faith? What about people who don't want to be sort of beholden to a religious tradition or belief or practice in high school or middle school? But Louisiana doesn't care about any of that. All Louisiana cares about is advancing a right-wing religious bill that, even if it fails, right, it still makes the Republicans who advance that argument look good. And it makes them mad. Republicans don't just vote when they're happy. They don't just vote when they're inspired. They vote when they're mad. They also vote when they're bored. And so even a bored Republican base can win an election because Democrats often don't show up in the same way. But when you start talking about this religious stuff, oh my God, this could go in a whole lot of ways. But we got to put an end to it. We do not want to live in a world, we do not want to live in a country where the church, and when I say church, I mean that in the broad sense, the church, the mosque, the synagogue, whatever it is determining not just what we should believe, but how people who don't share our beliefs should navigate. And when you make every kid in the world, no matter what their faith is, walk in there and look at the 10 Commandments, fundamentally, is it going to change their religious consciousness? Probably not. There's not that many differences. But you don't want to start that, because these are the same people that are so worried about ISIS taking over the country. The people who are so worried about the Taliban taking over the country. They're so worried about right-wing spaces being co-opted by Muslims and by brown people. At the same time, that's exactly what y'all doing. So knock it off. Anyway, we're going to call this a night tonight, man. There's so much to talk about. I have so much more I could talk to y'all about. But I'm going to call it a night, man, because I'm tired. And I'm celebrating Donald Trump not being president. And we got so much more to cover on our War on Gaza report. I know y'all missed it last night. Sorry, we're managing a bunch of stuff, and we got to make it all make sense. But I appreciate y'all. You know what? I'm gonna give y'all one more story. I'm gonna give y'all one more story because y'all are so nice. One more story. Welcome back to Night School. By the way, let me tell y'all something, man. Y'all should be hitting the like button. We got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people online right now watching this. We've had one of the busiest nights live. And of course, I know tens of thousands of people are going to watch this later. But live, people are watching this. And y'all not hitting the like button. When you hit the like button, the people rock with us. It draws more people to the page. It lets YouTube know that you care. It helps us beat the algorithm, because right now the algorithm, once y'all watching CNN, which is, not the place to be, or Fox News, which is not the place to be. But make sure you hit the like button and we can get some stuff going. But let's talk about American Airlines. Woo. 3 Black men are suing American Airlines for discrimination after they were removed from a flight over a body odor complaint. Let me say that again, right? Because I need y'all to hear this. 3 Black men are suing American Airlines for discrimination after they were removed from a flight over a body odor complaint. According to the lawsuit, 8 passengers, all Black men, were removed from a New York-bound flight coming from Phoenix on January the 5th, which is also the founding day of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, in case you care. 3 of the 8 men, Alvin Jackson, Emmanuel Jean-Joseph, and Xavier Ville, are now suing for what they believe was discrimination. It's important to mention why this is a discrimination case. First of all, these brothers don't know each other. Can you imagine just 3 random Negroes on a plane? I'm in 4B, you're in 16F, and you're in 30C, and they just grab me. You, get up. And they just pick us up and make us leave. And when we ask, well, what's the charge? What's the accusation? What's the issue? Why are we getting pulled out of the plane? They say, well, because y'all stink. We got body odor. We got body odor complaints from y'all. Really, for all 3 of us? Or do they assume that all 3 Negroes must be together, and so therefore kick one off, kick them off, all off? I don't know the answer, but I got to tell you, this shit looks crazy. It sounds crazy. And you know what? I don't even believe them brothers stink. I find it very difficult to believe that 3 fully grown Negroes was on a plane stinking. 1, sure, we all have bad days. The shit happens, right? Not Donald Trump bad, but bad enough. But come on, man. Y'all can let them dudes live. It feels racist and stupid. But that is this country. You know how bad your body odor gotta be for the airline to say you can't even be on this plane? Yeah, this is why we need abolition, and we need it now. Anyway, hit the like button, y'all. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If y'all haven't subscribed to this channel, please do. And of course, if you're so inclined, hit the join button. This is a tough time for independent media. This is a tough time for Black media. This is a tough time for radical media. When you add them all together, it's an impossibly difficult time. And so we very much need your support. So please hit the join button. Even if it's just at the bronze level, $3.99 a month makes a huge difference. Please come through. and join if you can. If you can't join, feel free to also make a different choice. And that different choice, of course, is to make a one-time payment. You can go to Cash App, you can go to PayPal, you can go to Venmo, you can go to Zelle. All of them will help you support the channel as we attempt to build a new studio space, as we attempt to hire more producers, as we attempt to get more great guests. All of the things we do on the channel require money. They require support, and I don't have a billionaire supporting me. I don't have anybody writing checks for this channel. I don't have any corporate entity giving me money. I don't even have a brand promotion deal. So all I do is out of the pocket right now, but I believe in it, and I know it's going to come back around. So please spread the word. Please support us every chance you get. I'd like to shout out a couple of people here. Patricia New York became a channel member today. Welcome. Meg L is always coming through with something, man. Thank you so much for that gift membership. Farah's gifted 1 membership. Dante Miller, I got you, bro. It's so excited to have you here. You think it's exciting to be here. It's exciting to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm just assuming you're a brother. You named Dante. Well, I know you might be Italian. Anthony Shannon, I appreciate your comment earlier, and of course we already addressed it, but thank you. I just want to pull it back up one more time. A bedazzler, Jazz? I said Jazz. I meant bullet. A bedazzler? I don't think he do. I think his manhood will be too compromised by that. I don't even think he wants to wear the ankle bracelet. It's gonna be hilarious to see. Anyway, this is why I said Jazz. Jazz, thank you so much for your contribution and for your comment question. It's always so important. I really do appreciate it more than you know. All right, family. Oh, and Meg L also gifted 5 more memberships. So grab the membership. She is a legend in the making. Make sure you support her as we support her. Thank you all for watching.